Hey everyone, Cap here with a video guide for Wajas Mahjong. I'm just going to do a quick playthrough along with my intro. Then on the second round through, what we'll do is we'll go into detail of some of the strategies that I use. As a little disclaimer, this guide is probably going to be more useful for newer or novice players. If you're an experienced player hoping for some fantastic magic tips, I don't know how useful this is going to be to you. This is also one of those games where there really is no right or wrong way to play it. You might get totally different tips or guidelines from a different person. This is just what works for me and hopefully works for you all as well. So as a little background, I certainly don't consider myself an expert player, maybe just an experienced one. I used to play Mahjong back when it was a free-to-play game on Windows a very long time ago. Well, maybe it's still a free-to-play game on Windows and I just can't find it anymore. What are all these apps? Back in my day, we had one window. Anyway, I was really stoked when Mahjong was added to the Wajas roster of games. The first tip I have for you is if you're wanting a fast play for the credits or you're unfamiliar with Mahjong is to start on the formation arrows. Tends to be the kindest, and in this guide, this is what I'll be demoing with. Mahjong is a tile-based matching game. It has been around for centuries. There are 4 tiles of each design, so each time you select a tile, you're going to match it with one of 3 identical options, and you win when all the tiles have been successfully matched. So let's go into a little bit more detail. The first thing that I do with any Wajas Mahjong new game is I have a look and see if 4 of any of the same tile are showing. That means I can just get them out of the way really quickly. Strategically, it's a really good move to make. We don't actually have any 4 of anything available at the moment. If we play through, we'll probably see that pop up. But there is something really important to watch out for going on with this first click. So the first thing I want to look at is these sunset tiles, because we can quite clearly see how that there's a sunset wallpaper tile stacked on top of this one here. So it's stacked on top of itself. This is something to watch out for. So I'm just going to remove these 2 snowflake tiles so we have all 4 sunsets available to us, or will have shortly. So if I were to select this sunset tile and this sunset tile, I would immediately not be able to win the game. I would trap myself because there is no way that I could reveal the sunset tile on the bottom if I accidentally did those 2 here. This gives us a correct sequence of events to follow. So if I select this one and this one, it reveals the one on the bottom, which I can then get rid of. So that's something really important to look out for because it's one of the traps or the pitfalls that you can fall into. So if you do see that you have easy access to 4 of anything, that's a really great move to make first up. So if we get rid of 2 of these love pairs, we now have access to all 4 of those green apples, and we can remove all of those. Once you have sort of looked and done all of the easy options in that respect, what I concentrate on is the areas where your tiles are most heavily stacked because they're going to give you the best reveals. Tiles beside them, tiles underneath them, by which I mean this area down the bottom in arrows and this area up the top. I will worry about these areas long before I worry about these ones, even these lines here with 3 aren't as strategically valued as what's up here. So let's do a little bit, let's do these ones here, and I can already see that we're starting to work towards something a little bit interesting here. So if we get rid of that piece of paper and one of these, we can now see that we have 4 DNAs available. So anytime when you're playing through the game that you either purposely or not reveal 4, stop and get rid of them, because now we've got this has been revealed, so it gives you a lot more wiggle room, I suppose is a good way to look at it. So let's have a look at some of these. So when it comes to making choices as to what we should select next, I usually go by the arrow areas. Oh, look, here's another really good example of that pitfall trap that I was talking about. Here we have a candlestick, and we can see that there's a candlestick underneath it. Luckily, I haven't done the other 2 candlesticks yet. They're down here. So that means I can follow that correct sequence of events again. I'm not going to do this one and trap myself. We're going to do this one here, reveal the one underneath. Well, we'll reveal the one underneath once we've done those 2. Reveal the one underneath, and then that allows us to remove all of them successfully. So if you find that you're 1 or 2 clicks away from being able to get all 4 of an item, of a tile rather, definitely do that. So in this case, I'm only one frog away from the red apples. So if I just get rid of that frog, we've now revealed all of these things. You can see this follow-through effect. Now I've actually revealed all 4 worms, so I can get rid of all 4 worms. And so here's a good strategic one to look at, because this one is stacked on, there's 2 tiles stacked underneath that, so it's a really good one for me to move through. And you can see how quickly you can make that pile of 3 into a pile of 0. So pretty fantastic. So when it comes to making strategic decisions, if there's only 3 things available, so for example, this ice cream cone is buried up here for now. So this ice cream cone here, you can see it's floating on its own. So I'm not actually going to worry about that one. Clicking this one and getting rid of this one doesn't give me a strategic value for the tiles around it, because it's already by itself. So the more strategic way to go about it is to do that, because that one gives me the tiles beside it and underneath it. But speaking of that ice cream cone, we can actually reach that fairly easily in that respect. And we haven't really walked into any huge pitfalls or traps. Did you see that? That is really, really important. So that was actually a ruby gem stacked on top of itself as well. This wasn't one of the ones that we could peek at and know either. So if I'd accidentally done the other 2 ruby gems, not knowing that this one had one underneath it, I would then be left with a pitfall, with a trap that you can't get out of. So that's another thing to look for. And then if you need to restart your game, you can actually try and remember where those types of pitfalls were. That was just luck. I didn't actually know that was there at all. So let's see if we can clear this one. We can reveal another set of 4 here. So strategically, this one comes into play again. So I could do this autumn leaves here, but I already have access to this potion here. So really what I should do is do that there. So now we can see that follow through effect again. I was able to get rid of the rainbow tattoos, and now, oh look, I can get rid of this, and hey look, I can actually do that very last one. So here is something quite interesting. This could have been a pitfall. I don't think it actually is, because if I remove that one there, you will see that the cat was underneath, and that lets us win. So those strategies have allowed us to play through a full game there.